This
Uh,
conference will now be recorded.
yes. So we do have an agenda we are following, and that agenda is going to be on the screen shortly. The agenda is pretty much allowing us in line to allow us to kind of follow a schedule. And the first thing we're doing now is welcoming everyone and explaining the webinar etiquette. One of the key etiquettes of the webinar is that I will mute everyone. I am recording the webinar. For those who are attending, I will be sending out the recording to the attendees at the end of this event. I am pleased that you've all joined us. We had a bit of a surge in registration uh, towards the end of today, and we are hoping to have a sizable number of people joining us. In terms of today, we are fortunate to have two proponents and experts within the industry of cocoa who have a lot of knowledge, who have a lot of knowledge and things to share today. So I'm going to introduce them shortly, but I will unmute them so that they can talk. And one of them is far away in the U.S., and the other is a king who's also an advocate for cocoa renaissance. He's currently in the UK, and he will be talking us through a lot of the reasons why the industry should be looked at. So before I start going into the, introducing them properly, I will just kind of go through who is who. So first and foremost, I'm going to start with Oloni. Oloni is the Royal Majesty of Badokun Thompson. He is a monarch who is unique from Nigeria, a passionate cocoa renaissance advocate, and a devoted Christian. Oloni's kingdom is the oldest cocoa plantation in Nigeria, which it dates back to 123 years, and his great forebears were the people, the person who introduced, Gureje Thompson introduced cocoa plantation to that part of Nigeria, Oloni. Oloni attended the prestigious King's College, Lagos, secondary education, and subsequently obtained a BSc degree in mechanical engineering from Nigeria Premier's University, the University of Ibadan in 1990. And after his first degree, he went into private business. And beyond the traditional role, he sits on the board of few private entities and non-governmental organizations. He's also the chairman of Etioni Development Group. The group runs an annual cocoa festival as well as Eco Chocolate Show in Lagos, Nigeria, and the Royal Cocoa Festival Dinner in London, United Kingdom. He is the founder of African Natural Ruler Initiative, which is an organization that was started in 2015 by the King. In its focus on redefining Africa and to redefine and address the issues in the area of conflict, poverty, health, education, housing, and the environment to achieve sustainable primary socioeconomic development, particularly in the rural areas. He's also part of the National Organizing Committee of the Global Cocoa Excellence Award. He's regularly featured in international conferences and events to speak on matters of peace, sustainable development, cultural diplomacy, and education as it relates to Africa. He's a keen golfer and great supporter of building talent and gifts in the younger generation, using principles from his spiritual faith as a guide to bring out the best in them to have a purpose and fulfilled life. Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce to you His Royal Majesty Oba Dokun Thompson, the Oloni of Etioni Kingdom in Osun State of Nigeria. Can you please give us a 2-minute introduction about yourself and why you are passionate about cocoa? Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. He's done most of the introduction. He's done a lot about, spoken a lot about what's my origin in terms of cocoa. But very quickly, what you see is the cocoa producing regions across the entire world is left for poor, and the cocoa consumption countries are left for very wealthy. There must be a reason for that disparity. And at the same time, it means that there are also opportunities that can easily be tapped. And this was why 5-6 years ago, we started the Cocoa Renaissance initiative to tap into these opportunities, to transform our communities. And the way we want to, we believe we can achieve that is through understanding how to build a cocoa culture that will be able to build a bridge between production and consumption. And once you are able to bridge that gap, it means value can be created locally. It means wealth can be created. It means we can also use that wealth to transform our communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oloni. So the other panelist we have today is Leonard Garden, who is an African-American cocoa professional. He's a consultant. He holds an MSc in Natural Resources from the Ohio State University. Leonard began his professional career managing agricultural projects funded by the USAID, United States Agency for International Development, across the African continent. Leonard has worked for over 20 years with cash crop farmers across the African continent and their partner cooperatives. Leonard currently consults for NGOs and other private entities interested in understanding the African agricultural supply chains. He has crafted effective training curricula for farmer organizations that want to modernize their agricultural practices using technology for optimizing profit. Leonard has also developed proprietary software useful in improving real-time communication between buyers and their suppliers in what he calls from field to fork. Clients' use of such software has improved supply chain traceability and integrity and facilitated longer-term contracts that are typically between suppliers and buyers. Most of all, Leonard is a purveyor of last mile or first mile technologies that, when used appropriately, can increase both buyers' satisfaction and supplier efficiency. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Leonard Garden as he will give his opening statements. Leonard.
Well, thank you, Innovate Africa, and welcome to all of our webinar guests. I was very happy when invited to come and speak to you concerning the cocoa industry, the confectionery industry. It is a good food, cocoa, and after close to 25 years now, I have been working with farmers and with chocolate makers, so all along the supply chain, in order to increase the time that I spent in the industry. In the beginning, I was simply sourcing cocoa beans from Africa for export to Europe and to the United States. But as my job evolved, I became more involved in creating a more sustainable and traceable supply chain. And in so doing, I recognized many opportunities in Africa for Africans that were not being exploited. So I'm very interested to be able to speak with you concerning many of the industry opportunities that are, depending on your risk level, are waiting for people to create businesses, create jobs, and to become entrepreneurs using a material, a food product that is 70% of which comes from Africa. So I'm looking very forward to speaking to, especially those from the 4 countries in Africa who are producing this product, for the most part: Nigeria, Cameroon, Ghana, and Cote d'Ivoire.
Okay, thank you, Leonard. So it is general knowledge to most people that cocoa is, the raw material that gives us, our lovely chocolates, Cadbury chocolates, hot chocolates, hot cocoa, whatever people call it. I always have problem in my house with my children because they always want to have hot chocolate, even when it's very late. I grew up with chocolate, and quite a lot of us are having no problem on the call or on the webinar. I want to open with this, and Oloni, this is for you. For most of the attendees of the webinar, the first question I want to throw out there, which Leonard, I will also come back to you, is why should I be bothered about the cocoa industry in Africa? On the back of that, I don't know if everybody here knows that Africa produces 70% of the world cocoa outputs, but most of the money from it, as we know, is not going into the African countries. So Oloni, starting with you, why should anyone be interested in the cocoa industry as an opportunity?
First, we have to look at 2 things. One, the economic aspect, and also the ethical aspect. When we talk ethics, like I said in my introduction, I mentioned earlier on that the production area is left for poor, for neglect, lack of social services, lack of infrastructure, and also it's a dying industry. Let me put it that way. And on the other side, the economic side, there are so many opportunities that can actually be grasped by interested parties or investors. So that is the main reason why this advocacy is out there, to ensure people can learn more about cocoa. People can learn a lot about the opportunities that are there. And then at the same time, so that, like I said somewhere about 2 years ago, that the possibility of a global economic crisis happening is very high. That is if the cocoa production end of the value chain actually dies, because we look at it as, oh, death to our own communities. I'm talking about the production communities, but it's actually death to so many other communities. I'm talking about the chocolate industry, pharmaceutical industry, cosmetic industries, anywhere cocoa is used. So to prevent that, there are several opportunities, several layers and areas that we can go into. But I guess in the course of this discussion, I will be able to share some of that.
Thank you very much, Oloni. So Leonard, you've worked in sourcing, you've worked in managing organizations that sort of work with farmers, and you've kind of worked globally in terms of, the, cocoa value chain. So as a, non-guru within the cocoa industry, why, what are the key things that should get me interested in the cocoa industry?
Well, cocoa is produced by farmers for the sake of chocolate. There's hot cocoa. There are chocolate and so many food products, ice creams, cakes. Chocolate itself is a very popular snack, and so there are ultimately the opportunity for anyone who would like to participate in this industry is in the production of one of those products. But there are also many side services that can be provided, that for which there are still not very many offerers. There is everything from from crop forecasting, which is an agricultural, to taking a class, for example, in order to learn how to produce gourmet chocolate. There is a lot of chocolate has had a resurgence over the last several years. It used to be in the United States product that had mostly sugar in it, and so just for children. But as the knowledge of the value, the health value of dark chocolate has come to our awareness, now many adults are consuming chocolate, and they are willing to pay much higher prices for their candy, let's say, or for their chocolate tablet than they were when it was just for children and it was mostly sugar. So gourmet chocolate has a market. And because it has a market, they want to start just like people who drink fine wines or fine coffees. They want to start with the best products. So if there are persons who are interested in creating jobs in Africa, creating businesses for themselves, revenue streams for themselves, they can start by helping farmers by providing services in caring for their farms, forecasting, as I mentioned, their crops, certification of their crops, for example, as organic or as fair trade, or other of the certifications that are available that add value to the raw material. Training farmers is another opportunity for those who enjoy being in rural areas and are naturally good teachers. Plant propagation. If we have good beans, it's because someone took the time to cross excellent genetic material and make plants that are early producing and that are prolific. In other words, for one tree, you can produce lots of cocoa. So the more cocoa that a farmer produces, the more he will receive for the area that he has under cultivation. So all of these are opportunities. Even just visiting a cocoa farm, ecotourism. If you're here in South America, Central America, there are cocoa farms where people will pay just to visit and see how cocoa is farmed and how cocoa is made from the beans into chocolate bars. So all of these are opportunities. If they're doing it in South America, we can certainly do the same thing in Africa. So all of these are opportunities to become involved, depending on your risk level, depending on your awareness of finance. There are even chocolate making machinery that you can put in your kitchen and begin to produce gourmet chocolate and experiment. See if you're able to do something with the chocolate, with the bean producers in your country, and maybe there already you can start a small business.
Okay, on that note, I think it kind of feeds in very nicely with what I was going to ask Oloni. And it's basically about what you have done as an individual and also your kingdom in terms of promoting the cocoa industry, the ecosystem, and how you've gone beyond just having a plantation. And, you know, for those who don't know it, the Oloni Kingdom has, you know, they have an Oloni Festival in November. There is the Eco Chocolate Show in April. There's a Royal Cocoa Festival dinner in London coming up in October, on the 8th of October. And it's kind of intended to become a 4-day event. And also, you know, so the question then is, in terms of what you've been doing, in terms of the Cocoa Festival, in terms of the dinner, in terms of the chocolate show, what has been the feedback and how has that impacted the Oloni King as a case study? So have you been able to get investors and innovators coming to the industry, into the cocoa, you know, kind of expanding what has been there historically?
I'm going to quickly say something before I go to the exact response to that question. The thing is, I want to quickly divide the industry, the opportunities, into sections for better and clearer understanding. First, cocoa for industrial purpose is used for confectionery, cosmetics, and pharmaceuticals. Okay. And then you now have opportunities in the area of the byproducts, which Leonard talked about earlier on. There's tourism, there's the hospitality, there's also the entertainment, there's merchandising, and even in the area where you produce as well. There's also the areas of even social services provision, housing, and all those areas, power, energy, things like that. And then you now have the very soft ones that are vertical between the cocoa from production to the end product or to consumption. You have areas where like branding, packaging, warehousing, logistics, training, and stuff like that. So there's several opportunities. And what has this created for us in Etioni? Because we have a cocoa festival that we've been doing over the last 5 years, we have a Eco Chocolate Show in Lagos, which is in its second edition. We have the London event as well. And this year's own will be the fourth one. It's bringing investors and partners together. What the events have been doing is to sort of create opportunities for bilateral relations, for bilateral exchanges, for cultural exchanges, while we develop the culture, the cocoa culture in the country and even in the community. The first thing it has done for us is to return dignity to the farmers. So the farmers are always looking out for it. The children, because one of the problems in cocoa producing communities is getting the younger generation to be involved. And as long as they see their parents or the ones ahead of them as poor, uneducated, unhealthy, it is going to be discouraging. That perspective is already changing. We are also changing the perspective from seeing cocoa as an extractive product or raw material, but more as a product that has more to offer when you actually add value to it. But most importantly, local value. And we are also seeing people calling us in because our ultimate vision is to build a sustainable model smart town where we create a platform and use the Internet of Things and work like a living lab concept where people can bring in the solutions and we work with the solutions to show that it's possible. And technology, AI, machine learning, we've gotten a lot of interest coming into Etioni and seeing how partnership can be possible to help us achieve our goals. So there's a lot going and a lot is being built. And well, I believe in another 3 to 5 years, things will start changing. But most importantly, it is not about Etioni. It's about every cocoa producing region in West Africa or in South America or in Asia. We need to transform the community, and we can only do it through the renewal of mind, through a transformation of the thinking as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Oloni. I think a lot of things were kind of touched on there. And Leonard, I know that previously you mentioned about lifting, the farmers out of poverty, but you work across the West African coast. So obviously, Cote d'Ivoire is the largest, and then you've got Ghana, you've got Nigeria, you've got Cameroon. For those on the webinar today, as a takeaway more than anything, what kind of, if they're going to be Machiavellian, just taking something away, what is the one thing you think a fresh innovator or investor can do as the starting block into getting into the industry?
Okay, the first thing to do is to visit a cocoa farm. When I started the business, my career was, I had been in Africa for 10 years. I had never seen a cocoa farm. And so the first thing to do is to go and visit, even if you know what a cocoa farm looks like, even if your family members are producing cocoa, go and visit and talk with the farmers to determine what you could do to have access to some beans. Then I would say, bring some beans home and learn how to make chocolate, because if the beans are important, it's because of the final product. It is a science, the actual production of cocoa beans into chocolate or other products such as cocoa powder. You should start small and go from there. If you go to the ShopRite in Ghana, you will find several different Ghanaian chocolate products, such as cocoa powder, right next to products by companies that we know and love, like Nestle and Cadbury. So I would say the first thing to do would be talk to some cocoa farmers. They are in Africa. They are found in cities just like they are found in the farms. But talk to farmers about their needs and how you can help.
Okay, thank you very much, Leonard. And then Oloni, you broached earlier about the different verticals and the different opportunities. I'm going to touch a bit on some of the questions already been asked, but I think one of the key things that is of interest, and I've got private emails and contacts on social media, has been what are the different areas that one can go into beyond the actual farming. So if I don't want to be a farmer, but I'm interested in the industry, what are the byproducts in terms of the verticals or horizontal, whatever I want to call it? I'm not a guru in the field. What are the areas? So that's why we're talking to group. What are the areas that you can sort of list that if you look at these 2, 3, 4 areas, it will be a good area to go in. So I'll just hand over to you.
Okay. From the moment you're producing cocoa and it's leaving the farm gate, okay, the farmers don't know anything about it anymore. And between that point and it gets to become chocolate, chocolate is not the only product. We have, even within the chocolate, the chocolate is within the confectionery industry. There's a huge market for cosmetics. Okay, even the pods, not necessarily the cocoa beans, but the pods is also used for cosmetics. It's used as also manure for cocoa and other things. It can also even be used as animal feed. Then when we're now looking at the byproducts that are actually related to cocoa, we're looking at so many other things, and that's when the culture area comes in. We're looking at tourism. We're looking at entertainment. The other day I said we are developing a movie around cocoa. From that, we can go into merchandising. Okay, there's also the hospitality industry from it. We've got, when you're even talking about chocolate, you're looking at branding, you're looking at packaging, you're looking at logistics, you're looking at several things. And then between the period when that's at the beginning of production to the period you harvest or dry, there are also vertical opportunities in the area of monitoring, in the area of training, in the area of research, the area whereby you even do a lot about certifications, whether it's organic, whether it's ethically produced or not. You know, there's so many opportunities in those areas. And when, depending on your interest, depending on what you have to offer, there's also the technology aspect. Right now, the only area for SMEs to be able to join or accelerate their entry into the industry, the need to be able to employ technology. Once you're employing technology, then it accelerates a lot of opportunities. But for Africa, we also need to go, because there's also that side of it, the hard industry, whereby you can also have opportunities to even manufacture your own equipment, your own small package, small chocolate bars making equipment. So there's several opportunities. It's limitless. That's the way I want to say it. And it's all about local value creation.
Okay, thank you very much. So on that premise, Leonard, I think I want to sort of jump into one of the great things you've done, which is you created a software, and this is getting interesting because I primarily work in technology, so this is interesting for me. So can you just tell us a bit about the software and how it can help potentially for someone who's going to want to sort of look at the industry? In a very high level.
Okay, yes. Well, the software that I produced was something that was just very high level because it was something that we were using before there was a serious in social media culture. Today, with the influence of social media, I'm sure the software that I developed would look much different. So, well, software developers know that the sky is really the limit. The good news, I guess, is that most cocoa farmers, let's say where I was serving as a trader, had cell phones, and cell phone coverage in Africa has been phenomenal. I mean, even in farms, on cocoa farmers in distant villages in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Cote d'Ivoire, I can speak directly about the availability of the cell phone technology. You have connectivity, and smartphones have come down so far down in price that anyone who wants to develop an application that might help to train farmers, that might help bring information to farmers concerning market prices, certification, opportunities for participation in contracts, all of these things would be possible directly with farmers. And so the sky is really the limit. I don't mean to sound hyperbolic, but you could do just about anything that you would like to do. If you were a trucker and you wanted to organize during the crop season, you wanted to organize your own transportation company and develop an app so that farmers who had a truckload of cocoa could book your transportation company to transport their cocoa from their village to a sales point. You can do that.
Okay, thank you very much, Leonard. I think as we go into the sort of the last segment of the webinar conversation, I want us to talk about the current challenges being faced by the industry and what are the challenges that are being faced, and you want to call out that provides or gives an opportunity for innovation or entrepreneurship or just investing to make things better. You've mentioned things like creating apps, but I've seen questions about logistics. But in terms of being very close to the ground, so you've got your family right there in Cote d'Ivoire, Leonard, but you kind of regularly every day talking to the farmers and the industry. So I'll come back to you in a bit, Leonard. But Oloni, in terms of the challenges that the community faces, can you give a list of top three that you think that for the millennials and those in the diaspora who are on this webinar, what are the key areas that in terms of the top three challenges that is worth sort of looking into?
The number one challenge, which always has to do with the human, because it's human, it requires a lot of human effort. That's the production side of it. So the average cocoa farmer is quite old on one part. Then to be able to add value, there's the challenge of finance. Once we can address that area, then we would have been able to resolve a lot of issues. But one thing you'd also have to understand that, I'm sure Leonard would understand this part of it. We don't have that much challenge. We don't have that sort of challenge in Nigeria. The area around child labor, human trafficking and stuff like that. So that's a different kind of challenge on its own. So, and this all has to do with pricing. It all has to do with allowing of free market to determine the cost of cocoa. Once that can be achieved, then a lot will be done to be able to accelerate investment in cocoa. But right now, Uganda, in Africa, we have Uganda, we have Cameroon, we have Nigeria, well placed as free market areas to be able to open opportunities up for whoever wants to come in. And just like I said, there's so many opportunities, there's so many areas that can easily be tapped.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Leonard, in terms of the challenges, Oloni mentioned about 3 areas in terms of finance, child labor, human trafficking. What would you say would be your top 3 in terms of, your experience within the industry?
Well, challenges, there are social challenges concerning child labor and perhaps farmers who are not using prescribed agricultural practices. Farmers are not conserving the environment. They may be destroying forest trees in order to put in more cocoa trees. But I think that the greatest challenge is the eventual prosperity of cocoa farmers. And I don't think that cocoa farmers can become prosperous on their own. They need persons like those of us who are participating in this webinar to partner with them and bring those kind of synergies. They need to bring the opportunities that come and the profit sharing that comes from selling a final product to those who are producing the beans. A good example would be Divine Chocolate, who I suppose in the UK there may be some participants here who have tasted Divine Chocolate, which is all produced by the Coapa Cocoa Cooperative of Ghana, who are 44% shareholders in this chocolate manufacturing company. Do they produce their own chocolate? No, they send their cocoa beans to a German confectioner to actually produce the chocolate, but they are the owners of this company and they receive benefits from the final product, from the chocolate. Are there other companies like Divine Cocoa? There are small companies, and all companies, even Divine Chocolate, started small, and it took them about 8 years to become profitable. So not only do we need partners with the African cocoa farmers, but we need long-term partners. There is financing available. I would prefer to look at the industry not as one where we have challenges, but where we have opportunities. There are shareholders who have financed Divine Chocolate and saw them through the 8 years that it took. They're a 20-year-old company now. It saw them through the 8 years that it took them to become profitable. They were at first only selling chocolate in video clubs. Remember those? In the UK, out of churches, video clubs. It was a very niche business, a very small business. Today, they have full business representation in the United States. That took time. But it started small. there is a very small company that has begun doing bean-to-bar chocolate in Nigeria. The founder of that company's name is Eric Reed. He began by working in Central America and the Dominican Republic, exploring the possibility of producing chocolate from beans that were from local farms. So it all starts with a small idea. It starts with taking a little bit of risk and going forward as a partner.
Thank you, Leonard. I think we've been having some challenges with your connection recently in the last few minutes. So anyhow, I think it's a good cue to go into the question and answer session. So there's been few questions, and I'm going to start from Bola. And Oloni, this is for you. The first question she asked is, cocoa in pharmaceuticals. How is cocoa used in the pharmaceutical industry?
Right now, there are bigger opportunities, even with the trend of natural products. So the cocoa powder is always used as the filler within the pharmaceutical industries. And then it can also be used as partly for, because of the health benefits of the raw cocoa, the 100% cocoa. It's used in a lot of this dietary mixes.
Okay, brilliant. So there's a question from Nick Stockridge, which has been answered by Leonard. So Nick, I'm sure you wouldn't mind if I just jump that, because I think Leonard answered that. And there's Hansen, who asked the question about genetically modifying cocoa that kind of makes the cocoa beans to produce more yield. Is this something that should be advocated? How potentially can this be done? Leonard, I'll pass that to you. Your audio is gone, Leonard. We can't hear you.
Should I help you?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was saying that Reading University there in the UK has a cocoa program that specifically addresses improving the genetic material available. They have seeds. They have stores of seed stock, and they are also involved in propagating approved seed in order to help farmers to have access to higher yield cocoa beans that are cocoa trees that are also more disease resistant, and eventually flavor profile. So yes, there is ongoing. I would say the place to start would be to speak with professors in the department at Reading University.
Okay. Can I add to that? We have Cocoa Research Institute in Nigeria as well, who is already doing a lot. They've got different varieties with different scientific codes to improve on yield, to also reduce the time they produce, and also develop or enhance their flavor profile. There are loads of it going on right now since for the last maybe 8-10 years.
Yes, I should have mentioned CRIN, the Cocoa Research Institute of Nigeria. You also have CRIG, the Cocoa Research Institute of Ghana, and in Cote d'Ivoire there's also a Cocoa Research Institute. All of them are they are full-time invested in the improvement of cocoa beans.
Okay, so thank you, both Oloni and Leonard. So I want to sort of bring another question from Bola, that in terms of the farmers, actually, that what is being done in terms of the infrastructure to get the produce from the market, sorry, from the cocoa plantation to the market and the town and beyond, in terms of what effect is infrastructure having on them and how is it being addressed? Oloni, that's for you.
Well, that's a very, very interesting question because there's certain things that is done by government. And of course, what our Cocoa Festival has been able to do is to create awareness of what is actually going on within cocoa producing regions, shown the lack of facilities or infrastructure and the need for government intervention to provide all these sort of things. So we're getting there. Um, I won't say it adds to the cost of the eventual product, but it actually reduces the margins for the people. But then, like I always say, it's not the cost of the cocoa beans, whether it is $1 or $10, that improves the lives of the farmers. It is actually their access to social services, their access to infrastructure, good infrastructure, education, sanitation, decent housing accommodation, things like that. That's what either makes them poor or rich. That's what actually will transform the communities and at the same time return the rural to urban drifts and turn it around to urban to rural. And that's what we're working on.
Thank you very much, Aloni. So there is also a question about what is being done to get, so this is a question from Olu. How can we get the youth to develop a taste for chocolate or chocolate milk? So I think that's potentially for the African continent. So Leonard, that's a question for you.
Concerning chocolate taste?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, someone was asking in the chat concerning about how much work could be done with respect to developing cocoa trees that have a particular flavor profile. And I'm preparing a response already for them to let them know that most of that kind of research is proprietary, it's secret. Nestle has a research center in Tours in France, just south of Paris, and I had the honor of visiting there because we, at the time that I was working for a trade house, we were considering, because the beans that our trade house was producing were traceable, they wanted to give us certain genetic material that they would test and propagate and then see if the flavor would be good. So these are the kinds of things that if you are, for example, if there's someone here listening who has a degree in biology or has a degree in plant pathology or has a degree in some agricultural area whereby they are willing to go through this kind of research, there's nothing stopping them. But this kind of research is being done by major companies because they want to stay ahead of the game. If you would like to have a special cocoa bean, maybe you should start crossing a few varieties of cocoa plants yourself and see what you come up with. You can start with cocoa beans that have a good flavor, and you might cross a tree that produces beans with a very good flavor with another tree which is good because it has a high yield, and see what you get. It's research that will take a while, probably at least 2-3 years in order to determine what you might get. But the advantage is once you have that, anyone who's coming behind you, it will take them at least as long as it took you to come up with the results of that research. If your plant is favorable, then you can go into the production stage and you would be in the business of selling a particular variety of fine flavor cocoa, a fine flavor cocoa bean. You could potentially be the sole salesperson of that product. So yes, this is something that is being done, but it's being done in secret.
Okay.
Can I say something there?
Go on.
Talking about actually, it's I think you also were trying to explain or find out how the younger one can acquire the taste of chocolate,
Yes.
because it's about the culture. It's about building the cocoa consumption culture. Once you build the cocoa consumption culture, then everybody will eat chocolate or drink chocolate. There are programs that we are already advocating for so that every student in every secondary school in Nigeria can partake in some sort of chocolate drink as part of some their health diet programs for the schools at the primary school level, at the secondary school level. If this can be achieved, then the consumption rate, the value creation would have been achieved in no time. Not only in Nigeria, I'm talking about if it can be achieved across West Africa.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we are coming to the end, but I want to put something out here. So, Innovate Africa is working with the Oloni for Etioni Kingdom and a lot of his initiatives, and also Leonard in terms of we have a cocoa subgroup, and what we're trying to do here is to show the opportunities. But in terms of moving it forward, if you are interested in knowing more, if you're interested in going to the next level, I think you all have my email address, because I did send a reminder to almost everyone. Tell us if you'd be interested, because we're trying to sort of work with a small group of cohorts to be able to have a proof of concept of what is possible. At the end of the day, cocoa is a tangible product. The opportunities are tangible. It's not about just talking on the internet. And one of the things that caught my attention was the mention of technology. So I work in technology, and I know that technology can disrupt or improve in a lot of different areas. And one of the wacky idea in my head as I was listening was the use of robotics in the cocoa industry, because in terms of, in terms of that is one of the areas that I have proficiency in, and I know how, robotics is being used in some Asian farming operations. It is not publicized, it is proprietary, but it is happening. So there are so many things that can be done. And, Oloni, you mentioned, things even like, having cartoons. There's so many things. I mean, we've seen politicians appear in the Simpsons cartoon just to promote, their political ambition and aspirations. So in terms of the cartoon, characters, I know that a lot of people watch it for different reasons. Tourism, ecotourism, as an example, was something that was mentioned. Actually visiting a cocoa farm, actually seeing how it's done. And I think a lot of us understand the challenges across Africa. So the farmers are old, the roads are not in the best state. We have some people call, cartels in terms of those who regulate the pricing. But I think for the new generation, for us, we can control the narrative through collaboration, through technology, and being exposed to these opportunities. So the recording from this webinar is going to be made available to everyone who's attended. And also, like I said, if we are interested, any of us here, in terms of taking it to the next level, being handheld or being sort of mentored about what to do next, I think it would be good to, it would be good to hear from you. And on that premise, I would like to sort of, just invite Leonard to just give a closing remark for 60 seconds, just as an encouragement for the listeners. Apologies, there are a few questions, 2 or 3 questions flying in now, but I will get the answers from these gentlemen and I will come back to you, but we cannot take it here. I know the name of the people asking questions, so we will come back to you. So Leonard, just as a closing remark, 30 seconds. Why, what would you like to say to the audience? We can't hear you.
The cocoa business is wide open. It may seem as though it is too big a business to enter, but I remember 10 years ago, we thought, how would we be able to even approach the billion-dollar investment needed to bring cocoa business into the modern era? But today we are several $100 million further along the way, and many investments have yet to be made. Many ideas have yet to be shared. For those of us who are close to African producers, go and visit a farm and find out how you can help.
Thank you very much, Leonard. Oloni, closing remark, 30 seconds.
In the 1960s, between 1950, 1960, 65, Western Nigeria was built with cocoa money. It became probably the most advanced area in Africa. We had the tallest building in Africa. We had the first stadium. We had the first TV station. We had world-class infrastructure with people from all over the world visiting hospitals for medical checkups, including the royal family from Saudi Arabia. But somehow or the other, we lost it. We lost all that opportunity because she should have been better by now. But we're at it. 3rd to 6th of April, 2020, we have the Eco Chocolate Show. It is about the value chain of cocoa, the opportunities around cocoa and the subproducts, the byproducts, the vertical opportunities. Then also we have the Cocoa Festival, an opportunity to see a farm, to see a cocoa plantation, to also share with the farmers, to even be educated. So there's several opportunities here and there flying. But like Innovate Africa said, information will be passed, and I will leave him, Mr. Dr. Adioye, to finish it up about Innovate Africa. But the cocoa industry is open for investment.
Okay, thank you very much, Oloni, and thank you very much, Leonard. I have been getting messages. So we have Yemisi Jenkins, MB, saying, this is thought-provoking. We have someone else say, thank you, Oba. They're already asking, how do we get mentoring? How do we get into this? How do we invest? There is a lot of interest, and this is not going to stop here. Innovate Africa is working with experts in different industries, and we have identified the cocoa industry as an industry that is strategic and is an industry where different things can be built around, from technology to ecotourism to different things, to kind of media, entertainment, different things. So I will be in touch with everyone. We will be in touch with everybody. Nick, sorry that you had a crash. Everything is recorded. Everyone will get a copy of this. What I would like to say is thank you everyone for attending. We're going to wrap this up now, and we're going to be sending out the next set of webinars to everyone. So on behalf of Innovate Africa, I want to say a big thank you for everyone who's taking time out after your long day at work to stay on your computers. And for those who wanted to speak, apologies. The model of this is we have panelists and we have Innovate Africa, asking the question. If you want to sort of speak, you can reach out to us and we can always have an arrangement. So have a lovely evening, everyone. And we hope to see you all very soon. God bless you all.
Thank you, Innovate Africa.
God bless you too.
Thank you very much again.